Ethiopia's Environment by Elizabeth Wiles. Among developing countries, Ethiopia is especially rich in history as well as cultural and biological diversity. This rich cultural and natural heritage is being threatened, especially in the form of deforestation. Ethiopia has the second largest population in Africa and has been hit by famine many times due to rain shortages and a depletion of natural resources. Overpopulation causes people to come to this fertile land and clear it to plant crops, cutting trees, and to sell the firewood. Growing populations are increasing deforestation, which is leading the country to famine. As the population continues to grow, the needs of the people increase. The country has lost 95% of its forest regions in the last 50 years. Deforestation in Ethiopia. Ethiopia loses 141,000 hectares of natural forest each year due to firewood collection, conversion to farmland, overgrazing, and building materials. Personal needs including fuel, hunting, agriculture, housing development, and religious reasons. Forests in Ethiopia play a big role in protecting erosion. As tree roots protect against washouts, trees also help to keep water in the soil and reduce global warming by uptake of carbon dioxide. Because there is not enough trees, the Blue Nile is now carrying all the soil and nutrients in the water to the neighboring countries of Sudan and Egypt. Forests have been very important for the livelihoods of the people in Ethiopia. The people use the trees for lumber and construction and for fuel. They also make traditional medicines from the trees and other forest plants. Forests were also important in the Ethiopian religious beliefs. There are over 6,603 plant species that live in Ethiopia, of which approximately one-fifth are not native to other countries. At the beginning of the 20th century, around 420,000 square kilometers, 35% of Ethiopia's land, was covered by trees, but recent research indicates that forest coverings is now less than 14.2% due to population growth. Despite the growing need for forest lands, lack of education among locals has led to the continuing decline of forested areas. Endangered species. There are 31 endemic species of mammals, rare species that reside in a certain area, in this case Ethiopia. The Ethiopian wolf is perhaps the most researched of all the endangered species within Ethiopia. Several conservation programs are in effect to help endangered species in Ethiopia. A group was created in 1966 called the Ethiopian Wildlife and Natural History Society, which focuses on studying and promoting the natural environments of Ethiopia, along with spreading the knowledge they acquire and supporting legislation to protect environmental resources. Ethiopia has 7 critically endangered mammals, including the Ethiopian wolf. The EWCP targets the greatest threats to the survival of Ethiopian wolves in their alpine habitat. They promote this sarcasmatic species as a flagship, so protecting many of the Ethiopia's endemic species and natural resources. Ethiopia's endangered species also consist of the male Ethiopian lions. They are known for their distinguished black manes. Experts believe there is only 1,000 of the Abyssinian lions that remain in Ethiopia. Although these lions are endangered, cubs are being sold for $175 each. Ethiopia's ecosystem. Deforestation is the process of removing the forest's ecosystem by cutting the trees and changing the shape of the land to suit different uses. The effects of the ecosystem by it accelerates soil erosion, it affects underground flow of water, and it leads to the disappearance of wildlife as many wild varieties of plants. The forest provides ecosystem services. As plants grow, whether in a forest, grassland, or in other biomes, the roots stabilize the soil and help prevent erosion. When rain falls, leaf litter slows runoff by intercepting water. By slowing runoff, forest vegetation prevents flooding, helps water soak into the ground to nourish roots and recharge aquifers, reduces soil erosion, and helps keep streams and rivers clean. Forest plants are also filter pollution and purify water as they take up from the soil and release it into the atmosphere. And transpiration. Plants draw carbon dioxide from the air for use in photosynthesis, release the oxygen that we breathe, influence moisture and precipitation patterns in modern climates. Tree roots draw materials up from deep soil layers and deliver them into surface soil layers, where other plants can use them. Plants also return organic material to the topsoil in the form of litter. By performing all these ecological functions, forests are indispensable for our survival. Ethiopians and the impact of deforestation. They rely on natural resources for their primary incomes. Once forests are cleared, they will not have the means of a stable income or environment. They lack the means of education and support on how to maintain a sustainable environment. Deforestation causes drinking water to become unsafe and contaminated. This poses a risk to humans, wildlife, and farming. If the issue of deforestation isn't resolved soon, the next generations will be depleted of resources. Ethiopia's government. In rural areas, the government realizes that if deforestation continues, the overall condition of the country will worsen. The government has begun teaching the people about the benefits of forests and encouraging the people to plant more trees and protect what they have, by providing them alternative home and agricultural materials. If any person cuts a tree, it is mandatory that he or she plants a new one to replace it. The current government and people are working hard together to make their country a better place again. There are governmental and nonprofit groups working with the government to protect the land. Organizations such as the SOS and Farm Africa are working with the federal government and local governments to create a good system of forest management. The government is also working to relocate people who live in dry regions and place them where they can find fertile land for farming. Locals now come to the realization that trees need legal recognition and be protected for future generations. One of the methods used to protect the trees is to designate certain areas where trees may be chopped down and used, and other areas where trees are protected by law. Resolution to deforestation in Ethiopia. I believe that giving back, planting new tree seedlings in place of old trees is a great start. The numbers have already proven a positive outcome. If the people continue to work together, they will be able to better their forest, regain their forest materials, and keep it going. And the country will be back to where it was.